All right. You ready to dive into some Vedic astrology?
Let's do it.
Looks like you've been looking into some pretty intense stuff.
Yeah.
Rahu, Ketu, even nakshatras.
Lots to unpack there.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to take in. But don't worry,
Wow.
we're here to help break it down. Figure out, like what's actually relevant for you.
Sounds good.
So I think a good place to start is those shadow planets, right? Rahu and Ketu.
The shadow planets, always a good place to start.
Yeah, they're pretty fascinating, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just their origin story in the Samudram anthem just blows my mind.
The churning of the cosmic ocean.
Right. This Ashura guy disguises himself to steal the elixir of immortality.
Oh.
Right. Gets caught by the sun and moon.
Oh, no.
And then Vishnu steps in.
Does what he has to do.
Right. Let's just say that.
Takes care of business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the severed head becomes Rahu.
Right. Eternally seeking what it can't have.
Yeah, forever chasing the sun and moon, causing eclipses and stuff.
Powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah, really intense.
Yeah, and it really reflects how Rahu operates in a chart, too. You know, like desires, ambition, pushing boundaries, often focused on worldly achievements and things like that.
So that makes Ketu like kind of the opposite then.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, so Ketu's more about letting go, being introspective, turning inward.
Yeah, if Rahu's the gas pedal, Ketu's the brake.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Thanks.
So they each kind of influence different areas of life then?
They do, yeah.
Okay, well, I saw in your notes, actually, that you're interested in, like, career paths.
I am.
So say someone had, like, Rahu in the 10th house.
Okay, so 10th house is the house of career.
Right.
That could show someone who's, like, really ambitious, maybe even wants to, like, shake things up in their field.
Okay, so they wouldn't be content with, like, a normal 9-to-5 job.
Not likely, no.
More like an entrepreneur, maybe, or inventor or something?
Exactly. They'd be the ones forging their own path.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about Ketu?
Well, let's say Ketu was in your 4th house, the house of home and family.
Okay.
That could mean you're searching for a sense of belonging that goes beyond the traditional, like, maybe you find your home in spiritual pursuits or in unconventional communities or something.
So that's like those people who travel the world and they're like, oh, home is everywhere and nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these shadow planets.
Right.
These powerful, like, karmic forces, but
there's more.
Right, there's another layer to this whole system, right?
There is.
The nakshatras.
Yes.
From what I understand, it's like there are many constellations within the zodiac that give like more specific details about each planet.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So like the zodiac signs are like broad brushstrokes and the nakshatras are like the finer details.
Yeah, there's 28 of them, each with a unique flavor. And you've highlighted a few in your notes, Ashwini, Rohini, and Ardra.
Yeah, those were the ones that really stood out to me.
Interesting choices.
Yeah. I don't know. They just seemed really interesting.
Yeah.
Ashwini, the horse head.
It's all about healing, new beginnings, pioneering spirit.
Yeah. And then Rohini is like the cart.
Right. Associated with beauty, prosperity, that abundance everyone's after.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ardra.
Now there's an intense one.
Yeah, the teardrop, right.
Ruled by Rahu, connected to storms and transformation.
Yeah, definitely intense.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how do these actually play out in someone's chart?
Good question.
Like, what's the difference if your moon is in Ashwini versus Rohini, for example?
Okay, well, the moon represents our emotions, our inner world, right?
Yeah.
So someone with moon in Ashwini might be very energetic, always on the move, needing new experiences to feel alive.
So, like, they might not do well with routine, always need that next adventure.
Exactly. Whereas someone with moon in Rohini might be drawn to beauty and comfort, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Find fulfillment through creating a harmonious, aesthetically pleasing environment.
So different, right?
Completely different approaches to life.
Yeah, and then Ardra.
Imagine that intensity coloring your emotional landscape.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is.
I guess they must feel things very deeply.
Very deeply.
Maybe even have, like, emotional storms sometimes.
Possibly.
But I guess those storms could also lead to big transformation too, right?
Exactly. It's like they have this drive to break down old patterns, rebuild themselves stronger.
Wow, okay. So much to think about with these nakshatras.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get too deep into those,
Sure.
there's another concept I think is helpful to understand the whole system.
Okay.
Shadbala.
Shadbala, yeah.
It's like a volume knob for each planet in your chart.
Good analogy.
So it's not just where a planet is, but how loud it's playing. Okay, so Shadbala takes into account a planet's position, its motion, its relationship with other planets.
Of that.
And it tells us which planets are really calling the shots in your life.
The major players.
And which ones are, like, more in the background.
Right, playing a subtler role.
So it's like having a personalized sound mix for your life.
I like that. That's a great way to visualize it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So we've got the planets, which are like the players.
Yes.
The houses, which are like the stage.
Right.
And the nakshatras, which give each performance its own unique flavor.
You're getting it.
And then Shadbala is like the sound engineer, making sure everything's balanced.
Perfect.
Okay, this is starting to make sense.
Good.
But then there's also these divisional charts, right?
We do have divisional charts, yeah.
So it's not kind of complicated.
They can be, but imagine looking at your life through different lenses,
Okay.
each one focusing on a specific area.
Like what?
Well, the most well-known one is the Navamsha chart, sometimes called the soul's blueprint.
The soul's blueprint.
It shows your true nature, your deepest desires.
Wow.
And it's especially important for understanding marriage and your spiritual path.
So, like, beyond the personality you show the world, there's this deeper self.
Exactly.
And the Navamsha chart helps us see that.
It's like the director's cut of your life story.
I like that.
It reveals those hidden motivations, the soul's journey.
So interesting.
And then there's the Dashamsha chart, which focuses specifically on career and vocation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're feeling lost career-wise.
The Dashamsha chart can provide some clues.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can highlight your talents and inclinations, where you might find fulfillment and success.
Wow. Okay, so we've got shadow planets, nakshatras, a system for understanding their strength, and then specialized charts for different areas of life.
A lot to take in.
Yeah, my head's spinning a little bit, but in a good way.
That's good. It's
Yeah.
a lot to process. But remember, we're focusing on what's most relevant for you.
Right, right.
And we're just getting started.
I'm hooked. So what's next on this Vedic astrology journey?
Well, we touched on the planets in houses, but there's a lot more to uncover there about how those placements shape our lives.
Oh, okay.
Think of the 12 houses as different stages in the play of life,
Ooh, I like that.
each one representing a unique area of experience.
Okay.
And the planets, they're the actors expressing their energy on those stages.
Okay, so next we're going behind the scenes.
We are.
We're seeing how these actors perform on different stages.
That's right.
I can't wait to see what kind of drama unfolds.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Sounds good.
What are you
We'll
looking
pick it up
for?
there next time.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Last time we talked about all the basics, like the shadow planets and the nakshatras and those divisional charts.
It's a lot, right?
It is. It's like we're building this whole cosmic toolkit.
And it is a powerful toolkit.
Yeah, it is.
So, ready to put some of those tools to work?
Let's do it.
All right.
Last time, we left off talking about the 12 houses.
The stages of life.
Right, and the planets being the actors.
Exactly.
So, like, where do we even begin with this cosmic play?
Well, you mentioned you wanted to understand career paths better.
I do, yeah.
So let's start with the 10th house.
The house of career, right.
Exactly, the house of career and public reputation.
Okay, yeah.
So what happens when different planets take center stage there?
Okay, so, like, imagine the spotlights on the 10th house.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Who are the actors we might see?
Well, if Rahu's there, you know, Mr. Ambition himself, you're probably looking at someone who wants to make a big impact.
Okay.
Maybe even shake up the status quo a little bit.
So they wouldn't be content just blending in?
Not at all. They want to stand out, be recognized for their unique contributions.
That's so Rahu.
It is, isn't it?
So that makes me think of, like, entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Inventors, people who forged their own path, you know?
Exactly. They're not afraid to break the mold.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now contrast that with Saturn in the 10th house.
Okay, Saturn's different, right?
Very different. Saturn is all about structure, discipline, hard work.
Okay, so someone with Saturn in the 10th house, they would find success through, like, really putting in the effort.
Yeah, they're not afraid of hard work. They have a strong work ethic. They like to build things slowly and steadily.
So they might be drawn to more traditional careers then.
Possibly. Or maybe they're drawn to mastering a craft over time.
That makes sense.
And then, of course, you have Venus.
Venus, the planet of love and beauty.
That's right. And pleasure.
Right, of course.
So Venus in the 10th house could mean a career in the arts or design or anything that brings beauty and joy to others.
So, like, artists, musicians, interior designers.
All expressing that Venusian energy in their work.
This is fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
It's like we're looking at the same career path through completely different lenses.
Exactly.
Wait, hold on.
What's up?
Each house also has like a zodiac sign associated with it, right?
It does, you're right.
How does that play into all of this?
Good question. So remember those 12 zodiac signs?
Yeah, of course.
They add another layer of nuance to how the planets express themselves in the houses.
So it's like adding costumes and set design to our cosmic play.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Okay, so let's say the 10th house for someone falls in the sign of Aries.
Okay, Aries. Bold, fiery, independent.
How would that influence the planets we were just talking about?
Okay, well, let's start with Rahu.
Okay.
Rahu in the 10th, with that Aries energy.
Uh-huh.
That could be someone who starts their own company, leads with a real pioneering spirit, you know?
Not afraid to take risks.
No, not at all.
So they could be like a CEO who disrupts an entire industry.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
What about Saturn in the 10th in Aries?
What would that look like?
That might be someone who thrives in leadership roles where they can take charge, implement their vision.
Okay, so like a military commander?
Could be, or an athlete who pushes their limits, or a surgeon who needs precision and control.
Right, right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
What about Venus in the 10th with that Aries energy?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Could be someone who finds success by expressing their creativity in a bold, innovative way.
I'm seeing like a fashion designer who sets trends.
Yes, or
Yeah.
a makeup artist who creates dramatic looks, or a musician who pushes boundaries.
I'm getting it.
It
Just adding that Aries flavor, it changes the whole picture.
does, doesn't it?
Like it's the same actors but playing different roles.
Precisely.
But there are so many combinations. How do you even keep track of it all?
That's where the dasha system comes in.
Oh, right. The planetary periods.
Exactly, like each planet gets its time to shine, you know?
So it's not just about where a planet is, but also when its influence is strongest.
Exactly. It's like each planet takes turns directing your life's narrative.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
So some periods might be focused on career growth, others on relationships, others on spiritual development.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Good.
So the houses are the areas of life. The signs provide the backdrop. The planets are the actors. The dashas are like the chapters of the story.
I like that you're really getting it.
But what about the nakshatras?
The nakshatras, those are like the subplots within each chapter.
They give even more detail.
Exactly. They give us clues about the specific flavor of a planet's expression in that house.
Okay, so like Ardra, for example.
Ardra, the intense one,
Yeah.
ruled by Rahu, all about storms and breakthroughs.
So how would that play out in, say, the 7th house?
Okay, 7th house, the house of relationships.
Right, partnerships, marriage, all that.
So someone with, let's say, Venus in the 7th house in Ardra,
Okay.
they might experience really intense relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships that are constantly evolving, pushing both partners to grow.
But also potentially tumultuous.
Yeah, they might go through periods of upheaval and change.
Sounds intense.
It can be, but it can also be incredibly transformative.
So it's like a relationship that's constantly being tested, but it makes both people stronger.
You could say that,
Okay, what about like Venus in the 7th house, but in Rohini instead?
Rohini, much different energy.
Right.
So with Venus in the 7th in Rohini, that person might seek out relationships that are more stable, loving, aesthetically pleasing, you know?
So like they're the couple who throws those elegant dinner parties.
Maybe. Or they just really value creating a beautiful, harmonious home environment.
So different. Yeah.
Same planet, same house, different nakshatras, totally different relationship dynamics.
It's like watching two different rom-coms.
I like that analogy, yeah.
One's a whirlwind romance, the other one's in like sweet and heartwarming.
Exactly.
Wow, okay, my mind is blown.
I know, it's a lot, but remember, we're just scratching the surface here.
Right, Vedic astrology is deep.
It is, but you don't need to understand every single detail to find valuable insights.
Okay, that's good to know.
So before we wrap up this part,
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to know about houses, signs, those cosmic actors?
Well, we've been talking about like the positive houses, but Vedic astrology also recognizes challenges and obstacles,
Right. Absolutely. We can't ignore those.
like the 6th house.
The house of difficulty and conflict.
Right, exactly. What about those tougher houses?
Those are called the dasthanas.
The stenas.
They represent areas where we might face tests or setbacks.
Even health challenges?
Sometimes, but here's the thing.
What's that?
Those dasthanas, they can also be sources of great strength.
Really?
Absolutely. They can lead to transformation.
So it's not about fearing those houses.
No, not at all. It's about understanding how to work with the energy they represent.
Okay, so like the 8th house.
The eighth house, yeah, often associated with sudden changes, the occult, even death.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
It is, but it's also a house of deep transformation and spiritual awakening.
Okay.
Someone with a strong eighth house, they might go through some really intense experiences, but those experiences lead to profound growth.
Wow, that's kind of a beautiful way to look at it.
And then there's the 12th house.
The 12th house, right? Associated with loss and isolation.
It can be, but it can also be a house of spiritual liberation and transcendence.
So like monks and yogis and people like that.
Exactly. They might have strong 12th house placements.
That makes sense.
It shows a detachment from material concerns, a yearning for something more.
Okay, so we're not supposed to fear the so-called difficult houses.
Not at all.
They're just opportunities for growth and transformation.
Exactly.
I'm getting it.
Good, good.
It's like those challenges, they're not meant to break us, but to refine us, you know?
Like a diamond being cut and polished.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful way to think about it.
It is, but it's a lot to process.
It is. It is. That's why we're taking it slow, you know?
Right.
Building a foundation so you can see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I'm starting to see it.
Good.
And I'm also starting to see how we can use this, not just to understand ourselves, but to navigate life.
That's the whole point, right?
It is. It is.
So you excited to see what other insights Vedic astrology has to offer?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Good, because there's more.
What's next on the agenda?
Well, next time we'll delve into some more specific concepts.
Okay.
Like Mangal Dosha and Ashtaka Varga.
Those sound interesting.
They are.
Okay, can't wait.
All right, until next time.
See you then.
Welcome back. Feels like we've covered so much ground already, like we've gone from just looking at the stars to actually navigating by them.
And that's the goal, right? To use this knowledge in a practical way.
Yeah, exactly.
Understand ourselves better, make more informed choices.
Okay, so speaking of navigating,
Yeah.
there was this one concept that kind of stuck out to me.
Which one?
Mangal Dosha.
Ah, that one often gets a bad rap.
Yeah, now it has to do with Mars and relationships.
It does, specifically Mars in certain houses.
Yeah, okay. Can we break that down a little more?
Sure. So it refers to Mars being in the 1st, 4th, 7th, 8th, or 12th house.
So it's not just about Mars being, like, fiery and energetic.
No, it's about its specific location.
Okay, and that's supposed to cause problems in relationships. Well, the traditional interpretation is that it can create conflict or tension.
Especially in marriage, right?
Yeah, that's often the focus.
But, like, is it a deal breaker?
Not necessarily. Just like with anything in astrology, it's about the whole picture.
Okay, so it's not an automatic no if you see Mangal Dosha in a chart.
Right. You have to consider other factors.
Like what?
Well, first, the strength of Mars. Is it in its own sign? Does it have positive aspects from other planets?
Right, those things can help, right.
Definitely, they can mitigate any negative effects.
And what about looking at the partner's chart?
Absolutely. That's crucial.
Could that balance things out?
It could, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So, for example, a strong Saturn or Jupiter in the partner's chart could balance that Martian energy.
Right, because it's about how the two charts interact.
Exactly. It's the interplay of energies.
Okay, so we talked about relationships.
We did.
But I'm also, like, really curious about career stuff.
Of course. That's a big one.
And there was this other concept, Ashtaka Varga.
Oh, yeah. Ashtaka Varga can be really helpful for that.
Could you remember maybe what that is?
It's like a scoring system for each planet.
Okay.
It looks at the planet's position relative to other planets and the ascendant.
So like a power ranking for the planets.
You could say that it helps identify which planets are strong and which ones are weaker.
Okay, and how would we use that for career stuff?
Well, you'd look at the 10th house, the career house.
Right.
If the Ashtaka Varga score for the planets related to that house is high, it suggests a smoother path to success.
Okay, so a high score means things might come easier.
Potentially, yeah.
And a low score means more challenges.
It could, but again, it's not a prediction.
Right, right. It's about understanding the potential, like, ease or difficulty.
Exactly. It's about knowing what you might be working with.
And then you can be prepared, right?
Exactly. You can approach things with more patience.
Or maybe seek out some extra support.
Maybe a mentor or some guidance.
I love how this system, like, gives you tools to understand yourself.
It's all about self-awareness.
And to make decisions.
And to feel empowered, right?
Yes. Not like you're just a victim of fate.
No, you have agency.
You can work with the energies.
Exactly. It's about conscious choice.
This has been amazing.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I feel like we've gone from feeling totally lost to, like, actually understanding these concepts.
That's the journey.
It is, and we can apply them to our lives.
That's the whole point.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you.
Likewise, it's been fun.
I feel like the biggest takeaway for me, and hopefully for our listener too,
Yeah.
is that Vedic astrology is really about self-discovery.
It is. It's a tool.
It helps us understand our strengths, our weaknesses,
Our patterns, our potential.
and then we can make choices that are aligned with who we really are.
That's beautifully said.
Thanks.
And remember, it's a journey. Take your time. Keep exploring.
Exactly. Be curious, ask questions, and who knows what you'll discover.
The cosmos is full of wisdom.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Vedic astrology.
Thanks for listening.